90 clans, giants who ride mammoths, bronze-armored warriors with their own laws and their own lords, cannibals who eat the dead, raiders who've been killing each other for 1,000 years, cave dwellers who've never seen a castle, wargs who slip into the minds of wolves and eagles. None of them kneel. That's not a preference, it's an identity. The free folk define themselves by refusal, won't bend, won't follow bloodlines, won't obey any law they didn't choose. A man keeps only what he can defend. The moment you kneel, you've become someone else's property. So how do you make 90 clans of people who reject all kings follow one king? One man did it. A Night's Watch deserter with no castle, no gold, no dragons, and no name that meant anything to anyone south of the Wall. And nobody in Westeros accomplished anything harder. Mance Rayder was born a wildling, but raised by the enemy. His mother was a free folk woman. His father was a man of the Night's Watch. When rangers found the infant in a raided wildling camp, they brought him back to the Shadow Tower and raised him as a brother. Mance never chose the Wall. The Wall chose him. The boy grew into a skilled ranger, good with a sword, better in the wild, could survive beyond the Wall in conditions that killed lesser men, and he could sing. That detail matters more than it seems. But the Night's Watch is an institution, and institutions demand uniformity. Same black cloak, same oath, same surrender of your name, your family, your past. Then came the Shadow Cat. During a ranging beyond the Wall, the beast mauled him and left him for dead. A wildling woman found him. She tended his wounds, and she mended his torn cloak with the only fabric she had. Strips of crimson silk. When Mance returned to the Shadow Tower, Commander Dennis Mallister told him to replace the patched cloak with the regular black one. Strip the color, strip the individuality. Erase every trace of who saved him or what he'd survived. He looked at the cloak that was given to him and understood something about the brotherhood he served. The Night's Watch did not want Mance Rayder. It wanted a black cloak that followed orders. He chose the red silk. He deserted, not for power, not for land, not for revenge, for a red silk patch on a black cloak. And from that moment, he belonged to the free folk. But belonging is not the same as leading. That would take years, and it would cost blood. You have to understand what Mance was trying to unite. The true North is not an eighth unruly kingdom north of the Wall. It has no capital, no shared language. Some clans speak the common tongue, some the old tongue. Some speak dialects that barely qualify as either. No shared religion beyond a vague reverence for the old gods that manifests differently in every valley and cave. No economy, not a single road. Each clan has its own culture. The Thenns are the proof that the word wildling is a lie told by Southerners. Hereditary lords called Magnars. Codified laws, bronze and iron forges, the only ones north of the Wall. Drill, obedience, battle formations. The old tongue spoken fluently and a claim of descent from the last pure first men. A Bronze Age civilization frozen in time for 6,000 years. The show turned them into cannibals. In the books, the Thenns are the most civilized people beyond the Wall. The show merged them with the Ice River clans, the actual cannibals, and inverted them into savages with ritual scars. The Ice River clans eat the flesh of the dead. Other wildlings consider them barely human. And these people are in Mance's coalition too, marching alongside the Thenns, who find them as disgusting as anyone south of the Wall would. As for the giants, they're not just a clan, they're a different species altogether. Riders of mammoths who speak a bass rumble version of the old tongue. Dying out for centuries, pushed further and further north by men who took their lands. Mance brought them into the fold, for giants too are running from the threat from the lands of always winter. The Hornfoot people walk barefoot in the snow. Their souls are as hard as boiled leather. The frozen shore clans ride chariots made from walrus bone and tusks, and fight each other as often as they fight anyone else. These people have been raiding each other, killing each other, and stealing each other's women for thousands of years. Asking them to march together is like asking wolves to herd sheep. They'd rather eat the sheep. They'd rather eat each other. And the history proves it. Every king beyond the wall before Mance united the clans, led them south, and died. Then the clans shattered. Joramun, the legendary first, drove out the Night's King alongside a Stark. His people went back to fighting each other the moment the crisis passed. Jendel and Gorn found a passage under the wall and were destroyed. Raymond Redbeard climbed the wall only 75 years before the current story, invaded the north, and fell at Long Lake. Artos Stark, called the Implacable, killed him personally. After every defeat, dissolution, no succession, no continuity. 8,000 years of the same cycle. Strong men who forced temporary alliances through personal dominance, led doomed invasions, and left nothing behind but corpses and scattered clans. Mance Rayder looked at that record and decided to break the pattern. It took years. Mance traveled between clans, not with an army, not with a war band, often alone or with a small escort, sat at campfires with people who had raided each other the season before, sang their songs, learned their grudges, and understood that the free folk are not one people, but dozens, each with distinct cultures. You can't talk to the Thenns the way you talk to the Hornfoot. And then he brokered peace. Between Harmer Dogshead and Rattleshirt, the Lord of Bones, who'd been warring for years. Between the Hornfoots and the Night Runners. Between the men of the Frozen Shore and the Ice River clans. Feuds that predated the wall itself, settled by a man with a lute and a reputation. Where words didn't work, steel did. Mance fought and killed 3 men who refused to submit to his claim as king beyond the wall. In the wildling world, this is the only form of authority that everyone recognizes. If you can take it and hold it, it's yours. As Mance himself put it, free folk don't follow names or little cloth animals sewn on a tunic. They won't dance for coins. They don't care how you style yourself or what that chain of office means or who your grandsire was. They follow strength. They follow the man. But raw strength would only give him raiders and reavers. The Thenns required something more. Styr, the Magnar of Thenn, commanded absolute obedience from his people. Laws, metallurgy, battle formations. The Thenns didn't need Mance, could have survived alone. Mance had to best the old Magnar 3 times before Styr would accept him. 3. The most disciplined military force north of the wall didn't join this coalition cheaply. Mance later trusted Styr with one of the most dangerous operations of the entire campaign. Lead a climbing party over the wall. Strike Castle Black from the undefended south. You don't hand that mission to someone you bullied into following. Styr was a convert. Then there's Tormund, tall talker, hornblower, breaker of ice, husband to bears, mead king of Ruddy Hall, speaker to gods, father of hosts. Thunderfist, the man has more titles than most Westerosi lords, and not one of them was inherited. Everyone was earned or boasted into existence. Tormund is not Mance's subordinate. He is his ally. Their relationship looks nothing like a king and his vassal. It looks like 2 powerful men who respect each other and agree on what has to happen next. Tormund once wanted to be king beyond the wall himself. When asked why he follows Mance instead, his answer tells you everything. I can outdrink, outfight, and outsing him, and my members thrice the size are his, but Mance has cunning. Tormund doesn't follow because Mance beat him. He follows because Mance is smarter than everyone else in the room. Mance also brought the wargs in. Varamir Sixskins, a skin changer who controlled 6 animals at once, served as a weapon no southern army could counter. Orell's eagle provided aerial reconnaissance across miles of frozen terrain. In a world where everyone fights on the ground, Mance had eyes in the sky. The result, a coalition that included the civilized and the feral, Giants and humans, wargs and warriors, bronze-armored Thenns and barefoot Hornfoots. People who'd been murdering each other for 8,000 years, marching in the same column. But the most powerful weapon Mance had was not a sword or a skin changer or a Thenn phalanx. It was the truth. The northernmost clans came first. They arrived at Mance's camps broken and terrified. Something was killing them. Not raiders, not bears. Something that came in the cold and raised the dead. The others were returning. The wildlings understood what this meant better than anyone in Westeros. Burn the dead. Always burn the dead. Thousands of years of that practice, and not out of custom, out of survival. Because the free folk know what happens when bodies are left unburned. The dead come back, and the dead serve the enemy. Mance doesn't want to destroy the wall, doesn't want to conquer the 7 kingdoms, doesn't care about Winterfell or the Iron Throne. What he wants is to get 100,000 people to the other side of the wall before the dead kill every last one of them. Men, women, children, the elderly. That's the achievement. Not a military campaign. A mass evacuation of 100,000 civilians across the most hostile terrain in the known world, past the only fortification that can protect them, defended by an institution that considers every one of them an enemy. Think about what Mance is juggling. Hold together 90 clans who distrust each other. March them hundreds of miles through frozen wilderness. Feed them, stop the Ice River clans from eating the dead. Prevent the Hornfoot and the Frozen Shore people from raiding each other's supplies. Convince the giants that the plan is survivable. Manage Styr's pride, Tormund's independence, and Varamir's instability. And he has to do all of this while the thing they're running from is gaining ground behind them. Now compare that to every other great leader in this story. Aegon the Conqueror had 3 dragons. Tywin Lannister had the richest house in Westeros. Robb Stark had Winterfell, the feudal loyalty of every northern house, and a direwolf. Daenerys had 3 dragons, an army of Unsullied, and the Dothraki. Mance Rayder started with a lute, a mended cloak, and a reputation for fighting. Every one of those leaders built on institutional foundations, hereditary claims, ancient castles, armies they inherited or bought. Systems that already existed. Mance built from zero, in a society that exists, by philosophy and by history, to resist exactly what he was building. The Night's Watch, the institution sworn to protect the realms of men, responded to this refugee crisis by closing the gates. 100,000 wildlings at the wall, and the Watch saw an invasion. Mance saw 100,000 wildlings and saw people he could not afford to lose. Every body left north of the wall was a body the others would add to their army. That's the detail that makes Mance's achievement not impressive, necessary. This isn't politics. This isn't ambition. Every person left behind becomes a soldier for the enemy. The math is annihilation or evacuation. There is no middle option. In the show, Mance burns. Stannis executes him, and Jon mercy kills him with an arrow. A clean ending for a simplified character. In the books, he's still alive. Melisandre uses a glamour to disguise Rattleshirt as Mance and burns the wrong man. The real Mance is sent to Winterfell under the name Abel. A bard, a nobody. A man with a lute. The name is an anagram of Bael, as in Bael the Bard, the legendary king beyond the wall who once infiltrated Winterfell centuries earlier. Mance is rhyming with his own history. His mission, slip into the castle occupied by Ramsay Bolton and rescue a girl the Boltons claim is Arya Stark. The man who accomplished the most improbable political feat in the history of Westeros is playing lute in a monster's hall, disguised as a commoner, because the realm that should have opened its gates sent him to die instead. And the tragedy isn't that he failed, it's that he was right about everything. The others came. The dead rose, the wall nearly fell, the man who saw it first, who tried to save his people first, Who built the impossible alliance first? The realm treated him as a barbarian who needed to be stopped.